Hi everyone, my name is Polina Putskova, and today I will be talking about shimmering modes in Russian traditional singing. This is a joint work with Olga Velichkina and Yulia Nikolaenko. Now let's start with an example.
От позаре да позорюшки, да позаре да повотерешне, ой лёли, 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 на позаре да повотерешне, да подороге повечерне, ой лёли, лёли,
This is a recording of 4 women from village Plyokhova, Kursk region, southern Russia. This is tragically one of those communities that were completely devastated by the war, like many Ukrainian communities are. This recording was made in 2005. Have you managed to get the mode? All right, let's listen to the channels.
От позаре да позорюшки, да позаре да повотерешне, ой лёли, 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 да позаре да повотерешне, да подруе повечерне, ля, лёли, да ля.
Did you get the mode now? Let's do it one more time.
От позаре да позорюшки, да позаре да повотерешне.
Хе-хе, позаре да позорюшки, да позаре да повотерешни. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's a subset of a minor mode. Let's move on.
Ой, лёли, 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 лёли.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's a whole tone scale. So they are singing together at the same time in 2 different modes with the tonal center difference of a semitone. You don't do this deliberately, I promise you. So both modes are present in this area, but normally each song will be sung either in one or the other. Here, basically, what they're doing, they're negotiating the mode while they're singing together. We have also found some examples in this area of solo singers who move gradually between one mode and the other without a clear modulation. So this all got us interested in the question how the mode is determined for Russian traditional songs. And before we can speak about the mode, we need to understand how the notes are determined. If we look at the Western European notion of a note, it is understood as a beginning of a note, an onset, the end of the note, and a single pitch. Now, this is exactly what you see in a pitch curve of a fixed pitch instrument. In this case, it's a keyboard. So it's me playing a traditional song, and you can see clear bars with beginnings, ends, and single pitch. And below is the same song sung by a traditional singer, Olga Sergeyeva. And you can see that there are no onsets, there are no stable pitches. So it's a mystery how we as listeners manage to turn these squiggles into something like notes. This realization has led to the Vocal Notes project, where expert transcribers from 5 vocal traditions produced independent transcriptions of vocal performances in their culture, and we analyzed the disagreements between the transcriptions in order to understand how we perceive notes in these traditions, and whether generally the Western concept of a note is applicable for the analysis of these vocal traditions. This is the Vocal Notes team. We looked at Japanese folk songs, at Chinese Bangzi opera from Hebei province, at Alpine yodeling and Romanian Jewish chant alongside Russian traditional singing. The data set is available. The special issue of the AWM journal will hopefully be published by the end of this year. Some papers are available in preprint. How we did it? We first automatically extracted the fundamental frequency curve, so this squiggle that you've seen before. On the basis of this pitch curve, the transcribers then went on to independently manually segment these pitch curves into notes and correct the pitch where necessary. And then we did qualitative analysis. We compared these independent transcriptions, trying to formalize the contexts which led to disagreements. This is a pitch curve of a song. Let me play you this as an example as well. And then this pitch curve is segmented into notes. It looks like this. The advantage of this approach is, apart from that it's digital and easy to handle, is that it is not bound by any metrical grid or pitch grid for that matter. So it allows for really fine-grained comparisons of the transcriber's perception of notes. As a Russian team, we looked at Russian traditional vocal polyphony. So mainly unaccompanied group singing. Includes different types of polyphony depending on the region and genre. And ethnomusicologists are often particularly interested in what is called developed heterophony, which is common in southern Russia and which the example you heard at the beginning. The modes were looked at starting at the beginning of the 19th century, mainly first in opposition to classical music modes. Evolutionary approach has been applied to modes. It's quite common to hear that the simplest songs based, say, on alternation of two notes are the most archaic. And then come the anhemitonic tunes with no half tones and usually 2, 3, 4 notes in the scale. And then that further develops to the diatonic scales. The mode is normally determined based on researchers' intuition and on Western staff notation transcriptions. It's important to note that recordings have not always been considered primary. The transcriptions were primary for a long time. And recordings, after they were transcribed, were often deleted to reuse the tape. So we do have transcriptions of songs for which we don't have recordings. And whereas the concept of the mode might be discussed and disputed, the transcription on which it is based is rarely questioned. In the vocal notes project, our dataset included 10 minutes of village vocal polyphony, some group songs, some solo songs. So 20 tracks, 12 songs. They recorded between 1965 and 2010. Female singers, 55 years and older, a variety of regions, genres, and so on. The transcribers are all active performers and were all trained in transcription. Olga led the team. She studied music theory and traditional music at Moscow Conservatoire and then moved on to do a PhD at a higher university in musicological analysis and ethnomusicology. Yulia was trained in Ulyanovsk училище, and in my case it's a bit more complicated, but I also have training in transcription and field research experience, and I have been leading vocal ensembles for 20 years. Now, after we did the independent transcriptions, we compared them side by side like this. This is actually These are the three transcriptions of the song that we heard at the beginning, Позорюшки, of one channel of that song, sorry. And you can see here the differences. For example, here we see the difference in the number of notes. Here we see considerable differences in note boundaries. Here again, different number of notes, and here is a difference in pitch. We try to formalize the contexts that led to these disagreements. We found plenty, musical and linguistic contexts. And today I will show you an example of one such context, which we call here vowelization of consonants. In Russian, syllables may include more than one consonant in speech. So specifically for Russian traditional village singing, it's quite common to add tiny vowels to those multiple consonants so that they become a syllable of their own. And that often leads to disagreements in transcriptions. Here, I'll give you two examples of this. First example here leads to a disagreement in the number of notes. You can see the sound y, which is a consonant in speech, but in singing it becomes more like a y. I added to the previous note, and for Olga it's a separate note. So it's kind of a border case, and I'll show you what it sounds like. That was my transcription, and that's Olga's. Here's another example where vowelization leads to the disagreements in note boundaries. This is a song from Plyochova, a solo song. And here, I don't know if you can see it, but the sound P is slightly vowelized. So it sounds a little bit more like a P in singing. And Olga's segmentation is syllable based. So for her, the syllable is a new note. And in my case, I see this P as a continuation of the previous gesture. And the next R sound, which has a clear pitch, is the onset for the next note. I'll show you what it sounds like. It goes quite fast, but I hope you can hear this vowelization. Ой, не пари, пари, пари. That's what happens. So in other words, I've tried to show you that there is quite a lot of ambiguity in transcription, in how we perceive these segments of squiggles that we make to notes. Following on that, we also found differences in the number of scale degrees and in the boundaries between pitch classes. I'll give you an example. This is the same song that we've just heard from Plyochova in the last example, and the notes from Olga's and mine independent transcriptions, ordered by pitch. So Olga's notes are blue and mine notes are orange. Here we divide them into 4 scale degrees. Please note the wide range of these scale degrees. It starts with 100 cents, which is a semitone for the first degree, and then it becomes even larger, so that the 4th degree has a range of a whole tone. So the notes which are as far apart as a whole tone are the same scale degree. Also note the overlap between the pitch ranges of these scale degrees, between 3rd and 4th degree. And now the same notes are subdivided into 5 scale degrees. And this is as plausible. So the main thing, I guess, to learn from here is that based on our data, we can't say whether it's 4 scale degrees or 5 scale degrees, which mode that is. Both are plausible. Overall, there is no clear way to determine, based on our data, whether a scale is anhemitonic, diatonic, chromatic, or of any other type. Numerous vocal flexions of individual vocal styles we encountered can be understood as grace notes, as chromatisms, or simply as reflecting a wide frequency range of the given scale degree. Similarly to note perception, we found ambiguity in scale and mode perception of a single musical excerpt. In contrast, a student analyzing a traditional vocal example is required to determine the one correct mode in order to pass the exam. We would like to challenge the current practice and to allow for multiple correct answers regarding the mode in Russian traditional singing.